good national healthcare system. I'm sick and tired of seeing people like Bill McGuire take $1 billion paycheck from United Healthcare.
Most of the money goes to corporate welfare. That's what the right's got wrong. They think corporations are perfect and have done no wrong. Meanwhile, it's all corporate welfare, 30-1, and the 1%. I mean, cities.
Well, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. You're singing my song, but my point is that's. The taxes aren't the issue, but let's pick up some phone calls here and see what Rita in Los Angeles. Let's do on K Talk in L.A. Hey, Rita.
Yes, I'm so encouraged of the simulcast because I've been saying for years that the right puts out the truth so the left won't touch it on certain listener-sponsor radio stations. And there's power in numbers, and if there's a coalition like what you two are doing right now, I think the People's Movement has a much better chance of bringing strength into affecting the decisions made in Washington. And I would like to request that the two of you do a regular simulcast if you could fit it into your schedules, just like, Tom, you do Brunch with Bernie.
Yeah, okay. Rita, thank you very much. We have Senator Sanders on every week. Alex, let me just say, you said thank you for endorsing the Obama deception. I'm not endorsing the Obama deception, but I want to make it clear.
Thank you for plugging it. Thank you for plugging it.
Okay. Because I think that there are some great things in there, and I do agree with you that people should watch it. Although when you get to your conclusion, I mean there are and I'm not going to go through them one by one, but there are a bunch of areas where I think that we could have a very interesting discussion about our disagreements. You have any calls there? You got a caller you want to toss up, or shall I pick
we
up
always have unlimited phone calls, but I'm down here in Texas. They're up in Minnesota. I just asked the guy for calls. I just opened it up, and so they're giving me calls right now. Go ahead and go to your next call.
All righty. Anthony in Anaheim, California. Hey, Anthony.
Hey, Tom. Hey, Alex. I don't have so much of a question as I just wanted to, first of all, state my appreciation for you having this, both of you. Tom, I've listened to you for the past about 4 years religiously every day, and Alex, I was part of the Tea Parties, the movement. I was part of the Money Bomb with Ron Paul. I go to your website.
Yeah, it's really Ron Paul who started this thing, the Tea Parties, in the modern incarnation.
And then now first it was started by 9/11 Truth, then Ron Paul picked up on it, and now Sean Hannity and Becky Pooh and these corporate minions have hijacked it. But by the way, I've been at Willie Nelson's house while he's had you on in the While he's been, had you on in the background listening to you. One time I showed up at Willie's house and he had you on in the background. I just wanted to say that.
That's great.
It's Willie funny,
Nelson, one of my heroes. I love Willie Nelson. He's amazing. Okay, Brian in Fort Lauderdale. Excuse me, Brian. You're on with Alex Jones and me. PrisonPlanet.com, Infowars.com, TomHartman.com.
Tom, thank you so much for taking my phone call. Yeah, I think it's great that you guys are doing this simulcast.
It's guaranteeing that neither one of us is ever going to get a national TV show. That's what it's taking.
That's true. Yeah, I listen to both of you on a regular basis. I wanted to say something to Alex, because I can never get into his show. See, Alex, I think your show's great. I really enjoy listening to you. I agree with a lot that you talk about. But one problem that I have is that you use a lot of sensationalism and fear hype to, I don't know, kind of promote your show or yourself. I don't know what it is. But one example is your claim of how the New World Order is going to eliminate 80% of the world population. And you cite Bill Joy's article on why the future doesn't need us.
Well, I cite a bunch of articles. Okay, go ahead.
I've read that article numerous times. Don't see any mention of anything like that. I wish you would back some of your claims up better.
Brian, good start. Alex, you're suggesting that there's a plot to eliminate 80% of the world population?
Yeah, let me comment on this. My film, Endgame, Blueprint for Global Enslavement, has all the quotes. He takes out of context one thing I mention as evidence of the elite saying that they're having discussions about should they go ahead and just get rid of all of us because they don't need us anymore because of robotics and systems like that. So that's what I was talking about there. Now, State Department memorandum under Richard Nixon with Henry Kissinger says we'll use State Department Memorandum 200, will use IMF and World Bank money to make India and Peru and others sterilize half their women or they don't get money. That's on record. Then the 1996 UN Biological Diversity Assessment.
But hang on just a second, Alex. Let's assume that all that's true. They're working against their own best interests. You know what happened after the Black Plague in Europe was the Renaissance.
The Renaissance.
It created a middle class because when you reduce the size of the labor force, you drive up the cost of labor.
They didn't have robotics and robotic fleets, and the whole military is converting over to robotic tanks and aircraft. They don't even need the soldiers.
It's not enough. Let me toss out an alternative conspiracy theory, and that is that the anti-birth control movement around the world is part of the keep us all enslaved by jacking up the population to the point where
Tom, you're absolutely right, but it's more sophisticated. And I understand with an audience here, we've got to not dumb it down, but simplify it for time. Okay, but okay, yes, you're right. If you read the British Royal Commission on Population Commission 1944 to 49, a 5-year study commissioned by the British government, they say that. They say we want to stop birth control in the third world so that they use up all their resources and don't industrialize to threaten us. And that was one school of thought that was done. Then you have another eugenicist school of thought, which is hyper-dynamic, and it's the most powerful.
Maybe they'll cancel each other out.
No, that's basically what's happening, and it's causing needless destruction. But no, you're right. There is actually a conspiracy. We conspire to do this simulcast. So I mean, conspiring is just people talking and two people planning something. So look. Dr. Eric Pianka at UT says he wants 90% of us to die, and the issue is he gets standing ovations. This has been on the news when he says he can't wait for 90% of us to die. Yeah. So my whole issue is that there is a dominant idea of eugenics that metastasized into crypto eugenics after World War II. That is the dominant system in scientific thought in our society, that humans are parasites and bad, and we need to get rid of the humans. And then that gives the globalist, the head of the CFR, wrote in 1991 for the Club of Rome, Richard N. Haas, he said, we're going to use fake terrorism as one pincer to control the public and fake environmentalism as the other. Am I saying there isn't fish die-offs, the trees being cut down, toxic waste dumping, real environmental?
I think you're pushing the edges here, Alex. I think you're pushing the edges. But but like I said, on both sides, let's move along here. Scott in Portland, you got something to say to us.
Yes, I do. As a matter of fact, taxes basically are rent on our infrastructure. Without our infrastructure, none of those rich people would have made.
You're not even listening to my point. My point is that it doesn't go to infrastructure because criminal elites like in the Soviet Union and in the United States always come in and get control of it, and they're destroying our infrastructure. They have tax incentives to move offshore that both parties support. Well, and by the way, I've got loaded phones if you want me to go to some too. Go ahead.
Sure, yeah. Well, let me just put a punctuation mark on that, and that is that we have this is why don't the rich pay their share? In 1955, the top 400 Americans in the U.S. Paid 3 times as much income tax as they are today. And if they were paying the same tax they paid in 1955, which, by the way, was a period of great stability, we would have an additional $35.9 billion. If everybody who made over $2 million in the U.S., which was the 91% tax rate back then, if they were paying a comparable income tax rate, which would be 49% in 1955, actually after deductions, right now they're paying 23%. We would have collected an additional $200 billion. That seems like a good thing if our government is using it appropriately. It's a bad thing if our government is using it to bail out bankrupt banks.
Yeah, but I mean, exactly. Here's my point. Is the big bankers come in, they lobby for higher taxes on the middle class and the working class. They then take our money and bail out for themselves and give themselves bonuses. That's how this works. And if you study it, as you know, if you make about $1 million a year or $200,000, $300,000 a year, you're paying about 35–40% because the deductions, you can't count them now. But as soon as you start making $5, $10, $20 million a year, you drop down to 20%. Then you've got all these lawyers and firms. And what did Bush?
This is why I say roll back the Reagan tax cuts.
Well, I mean, what did Bush do? As you know, he took almost all the FBI off the billionaires and put them on blue collar.